All right, is the ETH bull run beginning? A lot of things are starting to shape up in the markets. Today, we're going to break down a lot of different scenarios that are kind of aligning at the same time, and it might be in a position for an Ethereum ETF and many more things to come. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. All right, let's get started. Before we go, I do want to thank Tangem. If you guys are looking at self-custody, this is the self-custody wallet you want to get. And there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, it's a card. It works in conjunction with a really slick app, and it's one of the best self-custody solutions out there. And right now, if you're not in self-custody from your exchanges, you should be starting. I know this is going to be getting heated up here, so there's going to be a lot of activity right now. So just remember, be cautious always within the exchanges. Get your crypto into self-custody. You can do a couple of things here with the Tangem wallet. You can get a 3-card set, which is the way I recommend for your secure wallet. This will give you 3 additional cards or 2 additional cards. One you can carry with you, stash the other 2, and that in itself gives you a great set of backups. And it's not that much more expensive. These are very inexpensive, really, if you think about that compared to some of the hardware devices. So check it out. Use our code down below. It's going to give you an additional 10% off. All right, let's go to a first tweet here. This is James Seyfert. Update: Blackrock Ethereum ETF confirmed. They just submitted a 19B filing, so it is for sure going to happen. BlackRock is in the ETF game for Ethereum. How does this play out? Now, there's a couple of things that could be very intriguing with an ETF for Ethereum. First of all, and this is something we've talked about here on the show, is of course the yield opportunity with Ethereum that resides inside an ETF, what that might look like for asset managers. There's also aspects around this that could be much more intricate, especially because Ethereum has so much opportunity here as both a payment platform, but used in games, all sorts of things that really kind of explode the ecosystem of Ethereum. Here's 21 shares. And remember, this is the marketing bonanza that is beginning to, I think, take place over this next 18 to 24 months. We are going to see an absolute blitzkrieg of marketing coming at a lot of new investors and people out there that are really starting to maybe experiment with both Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins coming very soon. 21 shares, of course, right there's another fund that they're marketing. And of course, don't forget, right here is VanEck. And VanEck is kind of going a little bit, we've had the VanEck team on before. They're going a little bit heavier in the ETH route. So this was one of the ads that VanEck is running. And again, this gets back into just awareness. And it's a thing that we've talked about on the show a lot, and that is there is going to be a marketing bonanza here for a lot of these funds to try to get these ETH and Bitcoin ETFs on the move. Now, you could look at this in a couple of ways. There's a couple of things that are happening on Ethereum right now, but if you think about the potential here, this is Udi Wertheimer, and pretty much kind of the Udi is, if you don't know who he is, follow him on Twitter, but pretty much I'll call him the father of Ordinals. But the idea he had right here was interesting, and that is, imagine the smell if an SEC clerk accidentally approves the ETF before a Bitcoin ETF. Now, you know that Gensler is, if he does, and when I think will approve a Bitcoin ETF, could it also be, now that BlackRock has the filing in place, could it also be a scenario where we get an ETH ETF maybe at the same time? Remember, this week when we had Jeff Seyfert on from Bloomberg, he was saying May of next year as an ETH ETF to be able to ride on the heels pretty much of January to get Bitcoin's ETF in play. That would be something right there. Now, with all that being said, there's still a lot of FUD in the market. You've got this guy right here who's hitting on Countdown to Chaos, Ether Insider to expose ETH's founders' frauds in weeks. This is one that has kind of been circulating through a couple of Bitcoinist Bitcoinist had an article on this. There's a lot of FUD on ETH right now. That always indicates something, is up. Did ETH founder Vitalik Buterin short Ethereum, unraveling a 70,000 ETH sale? Go out and do your own research on this. I think you'll find the same thing that we find, is that a lot of this stuff is kind of just redirection overall. If you look at some of what's happening out here on Bitcoin, though, this, of course, is just looking at Ordinals. And if you guys remember, this is back here in May on the Ordinals activity, the birth of Ordinals and the explosion of Ordinals. But all of a sudden, bam, look at this. Now we're at an all-time high in terms of inscriptions here on Bitcoin. in terms of blockchain. This is significant. Right here's UDI again. It says 50% of the Bitcoin block space in the past 24 hours was used for ordinals. 57%. That's pretty big. And of course, they're always playing and having some fun. I am the Bitcoin chain now. I am the captain of the ship. I'm going to go to a clip real quick that I think you guys will like. And this one is talking from someone who's been in the Bitcoin space for a very long time, a very respected VC, a guy by the name of Tim Draper. Maybe you don't know him, maybe you do know him, but listen to this clip right here. I think he was on something. Listen in.
When in 2014, you purchased roughly 29,600 Bitcoins confiscated by U.S. Marshals from the Silk Road, marked around $18.7 million at the time, worth about $630 per coin. First of all, do you still hold the majority of those 29,000 Bitcoins or not?
Actually, I haven't done anything with those. I bought more. I actually bought a bunch at 4 when Bitcoin was at 4. And somehow we lost all those Bitcoin. That was about 40,000 Bitcoin. I thought after Mt. Gox had sort of disappeared all the money, that was the end of Bitcoin.
Did you view Bitcoin as a technology primarily or as a commodity with speculative upside?
Neither. I looked at, I had been looking at digital currencies for a long time. And I thought it would be in game. I thought various games would start trading with each other, and that would be the future of currency. You'd get whatever, the gold from Farmville, and you'd trade it with the diamonds from Misk or something.
All right, so Draper had it. He had the future of what is becoming reality already in his mind. And I think some of these VCs, they get a chance to see the Silicon Valley players in the early stage of mobile gaming, the early stage of social. They understand the currency and what it means, especially when you get into the digital space. The problem was there was never a technology that was capable of really kind of creating the concept of what blockchain truly was. So this right here is a good example of just the average gas price for ETH, which has started obviously to move with Ethereum's move already. But fear not, because the one thing that we've talked about in trying to circumvent gas fees has always been some of these layer 2s. If you look at the layer 2 chart over here on Dune Analytics, you can kind of see some of the activity right here within it. And I'll show you some of the chains out there. There's ZK Sync, Starknet going a little bit there. Optimism still somewhat respectable. Obviously Base starting to tail off a little bit, but I think they'll be coming back. Not necessarily a great project, but right here, Polygon, boom, starting to rise again. So again, this is another opportunity for Polygon. Polygon, of course, here recently moved fairly significantly. So is this the gateway that we do start to see in terms of ETH starting to move again, but also starting to have, remember, there's a lot of projects that have been building over this, 18 months, 20 months of the bear cycle, and they've been building, and are they set to release something? I'll show you something here in a second that might surprise you. This is a good example right here. I just want to showcase this, Illuvium. And Illuvium, I think a lot of people remember Illuvium on Avalanche. And one thing that you have to kind of just compare against, they're launching, of course, right here on Epic Games Store. So this will be a big deal. And if you look at the Illuvium chart, this just gets into the theory behind ETH and altcoins. But if you look at the Illuvium chart right here on the weekly, there's the move that we're witnessing right now, trading up 8% right now on the day, almost $100 for Illuvium. We haven't seen those kind of numbers in quite some time. In fact, $40 was about the baseline of where Illuvium had been holding. Another tweet I want to hit on here is this one right here. Remember, Immutable and Ubisoft also partnering. So many things going on there in that area. Then, of course, you've got Ronin exploding. Ronin, of course, Axie Infinity, another game also exploding. So is it time? Is this the time that we're going to start to see some of these altcoins start to fly? Usually Ethereum kind of leads that process going out into a bull market. And it's kind of interesting when you look at some of the strategies that have started to play out in what could be a bonanza for ETH in general. Here, of course, is one of the founders over at Axie. Not surprised to see it all. David has been an investor. David is talking about the ROBLOX CEO right there. This was a clip we put out You guys probably recognize this, but this was a clip where Roblox CEO was asked pretty much head on, do you think that Roblox will implement NFTs? He pretty much said, yeah, we're going to do it. All right, continue on with this tweet right here from Beam. 350,000 NFTs just been minted on Beam. And remember, Avalanche, this is also another altcoin, of course, that we've talked with the team there on Avalanche quite a bit, Avalabs. But this really starts to, I think, set the tone for transactions that are much less expensive. We're being able to go into a variety of different platforms, different chains. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people are kind of overlooking here. And of course, Shrapnel is one that is coming out. So available on Windows soon, but right there, December 2023. This happens, and we have the potential of seeing NFTs start to flow into game play, and of course, Avalanche all tied into this. So just more and more reasons. If you just look at the Beam token, you can kind of see the growth right here in a very short period of time. What kind of growth have they had? This is on the daily, just over the last several days, almost 53% right there on Beam, up 11% on the day. So not bad on Beam. I want to go to another clip here that will get you guys kind of on an inside. And this is taking a look at the Take-Two CEO on Grand Theft Auto 6. We did a full video on this that breaks out a lot more, so check out that video. But listen to this clip right here.
Yes, Grand Theft Auto 6, the next installment of the biggest franchise in the entertainment business. The last installment came out a decade ago, and look, it's the highest grossing entertainment product in history. First of all, I'm sure the iteration is going to be amazing. But second, please, because you are both at the intersection of technology and entertainment, talk about what the technology might mean for in the last 10 years what's happened, because I think that may be the trick to why this is going to be the greatest selling game of all time. And those who are worried about sluggish, the downbeat bookings are going to miss the next 60 points.
You're right, though, that technology has advanced greatly since Grand Theft Auto 5 was released. That was literally 3 console cycles ago.
Oh, my God, NVIDIA. What was NVIDIA doing then?
And it remains the standard bearer for the industry now. That's extraordinary. So, yes, my hopes and expectations are very high.
Now, is it possible, as some of my friends at NVIDIA tell me, that there could be some things lurking inside that we never thought, kind of like Free Guy, where people who are non-players may turn out to be not as much non-players as you think?
Well, again, I wouldn't talk about any particular title. I do think that generative AI is going to change the nature of what we do.
All right, so yes, they're talking about AI and NVIDIA there, but I think the real kind of hidden gem within Grand Theft Auto is going to be the release of NFTs. This is the thing we did a full video on. And why is that important? Because it has so much impact on especially Ethereum and other chains around it, because of the opportunity for these other chains start to integrate into a lot of different gaming scenarios, including other game consoles, other game players. All this is going to change, I think, the future of where Ethereum goes, but also just NFTs in general. I want to go to another clip here, and this is also where they talk about the mobile component. Now listen in close, because there's something he says here that I think gives something away. Listen in.
It's really hard to crack into the Zynga part of the business, the mobile, but if you get it, it's the holy grail.
The hardest thing to do in mobile video games is create a new hit. The best thing about Zynga is it, like our console and PC business, it has the best collection of owned intellectual property in the mobile space. The point, though, is we always need to refresh that. That is hard in mobile. Looks like we're going to be able to do that.
All right, so refreshing mobile, very hard to do, and it looks like we're going to be able to do that. So have they cracked mobile? Has this been a strategy, or is there a strategy in place for Take-Two and what GTA 6 is about to do? And also just in general for Take-Two of NFTs coming in, because they've already implemented that this is most likely going to happen. Is that really the strategy that has been cracking the opportunity around mobile, especially in terms of gameplay and the future of that? And again, why is this important? It's important to Ethereum. It's important to all of these ecosystems that are really counting on the gaming aspect of what they're doing in blockchain. That's why you have to pay attention in a big way. Now, let's jump over to ARK Invest. And this is something that you have to just be aware of. Disruptive innovation. This is a chart that they just put out. This is their Bitcoin monthly. And this was page 2 of it. I'll zoom in on just slightly there. And you'll see a risk of investing in innovation. Two of the things that I continue to be concerned about is these regulatory hurdles that we do have to overcome and these political or legal pressures, which is really what we've dealt with here in the US. But also, I think in general, this still has to be addressed around whether it's Ethereum, where we do get ETFs, and also whether we get a full line of crypto assets that obviously through the Coinbase trial will be monumental in the effect it's going to have on the market. And I'll talk about that in a second. I want to go over here also to this just to give you guys another scenario to look at. And that is, remember, Wyoming launching their stablecoin. Now, this is a scenario that this isn't like they're playing around checking out, let's see if we should do it. No, this is a scenario where it is in place. The law is in place not later than December 31st, 2023. And this is by Wyoming law. So we're going to see a stablecoin in a state. And could this lead to many other states, including places like Florida and other friendly crypto states that could say, hey, maybe it's time for us to kind of join the party here. Now, let's take a look at a couple of things here to keep an eye on, because this usually signifies what's happening within the altcoin markets. And if you look at Tether in general, this is the the all-time chart right here. Market cap, you can kind of see this significant growth right here, all the way from what was around 82 billion up to around 86 billion in a very short period of time, in just a couple of days. If you compare that to what's happening over here on USDC, exiting. Now, many of us have looked at this and said, well, okay, what's happening with USDC? Are we just seeing USDC convert to Tether because Tether's usability in a lot of these trading platforms that deal in altcoins is the model? Because when you combine the two, meaning USDC and Tether, we're seeing liquidity come in to stablecoins. Even though when you look at the two, there's some trade-off there. But the point being is that are stablecoins starting to move into the altcoin market? Obviously, with the numbers that we've already seen with Avalanche, Matic, Solana, Ethereum, could this be the beginning? And there's many other tokens. This is just the beginning of where a lot of these are going to grow. And remember, we're down on the floor on most of these tokens right now after almost 2 years of nothing but down pressure in many of these projects. So this could be on the edge of a bull run about to happen. I want to leave off here with a couple of clips here and a chart we'll get in at the end. And this is Mark Yusko talking about Coinbase specifically, but listen in.
So Coinbase came out with earnings yesterday. So for the first time ever, they broke out stablecoin revenue. This has been basically a one-way rocket ship up. They do 172 million per quarter. In their last quarter, they did that. And that is up from 1.8 billion at the end of Q2. So that number is rocketing up, especially institutions coming into the space. That's going to be huge for them. So thanks to Jay Powell there. Knowing what Price has done already, the volumes are going to be up. There's just no way that they're not. So we can expect a tailwind in terms of transaction revenue for this next quarter. Base, which is the layer 2 that they launched on Optimism, that is generating already very meaningful sequencer fees. And then the last thing is they have this offshore perps trading platform as well, which is going to be massive. The volumes is full order of magnitude larger in the derivatives market.
It's why we still own, the piece that, we were early investors. We sold most of what we had, not at the peak, but we kept about a third. We are holding when the Blackrock ETF is approved, and it's going to be approved early January. Maybe they'll do it on the Feast of the Epiphany on January 6th. Who knows? But that's coming. And that's going to be big for Coinbase. And Coinbase, to your point, it is the institutional gold standard for an asset, digital assets that are going to be part of every portfolio.
All right, Yusko hits on everything I think everybody watching our show is aware of, and that is all of these asset managers will have exposure into all these markets. And now we know that ETH, of course, will be part of that ETF crowd. And with that, we'll start to maybe get these asset managers thinking about other scenarios. And that is everything from layer 2s, other projects out there, things like Solana that might end up in an ETF at some time. Who knows? Point being is this just gives a segue. It's a gateway drug. Think of it that way, to get people into these digital assets, which really starts to set the game on fire. If you look at the chart on Coinbase, and because Coinbase is going to be the winner here, or one of the winners, and if you look at the chart on Coinbase, they were down 281% here from their all-time high at around 351 right after their IPO. Remember, their IPO spiked. Of course, we saw action right here. This was back in November 2021. Sliding down, it adjusted, and then Coinbase lawsuit comes in from the SEC, and the crush began. And it's just been kind of tinkering around sideways for quite some time, hovering in that zone between about 93, 95, down to as low as 30 bucks. So is this the zone right now for Coinbase if you are interested in going that direction? Because if this is the case where we start to see a lot more fees coming in with what's happening here on both ETFs, but also other assets, Coinbase might be a play to take a look at. All right, lots happening in the markets. Of course, we'll continue to keep a cover for you guys. We'll be doing a ton of videos next week, try to cover some stuff that we've been recording here to kind of get you guys updated there. If you're not part of our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in now. It's one of the best places to get additional content. We do a couple of podcasts over there that you don't get here on the YouTube channel. And if you want to catch me out there on X, it's at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.